It is an oasis of hope in Cleveland for people fighting for their lives. Inside the emergency room at Metro Health Medical Center, in these operating rooms, people are saved every day by those who've made it their mission, their life's work to do so. People such as Dr. Brian Miller.
I was very much, I want to be an ER doctor. What does it take to become an ER doctor?
An athlete, an avid biker, Brian Miller has always been a can-do type of guy. He left the small town of Fredericksburg in Wayne County to go to the University of Akron and then on to medical school at Ohio State. He and his wife had a son, and through hard work they built a life for themselves. This is Dr. Miller playing with his son by Lake Erie in May of last year. A week later, he was back at Metro as usual.
Had a very, very busy shift here in the ER. Stayed late to finish up paperwork. Then I was bicycling home only about a mile away.
But he never made it.
Because he knocked him, oh Lord.
Struck while riding his bike in Tremont, Dr. Miller was rushed back to the Metro ER, this time as a patient. His friends, his young colleagues, now fighting to save his life.
And when you're taking care of one of your own, it takes a little bit more of an emotional strain on everybody.
As word of the accident spreads, senior doctors returned to the ER to take some of the workload off of Brian's friends. 2 weeks later, after coming out of a coma, his best friend, his wife, broke the news to him that he'd been paralyzed.
So accepting it is still a daily battle. I've not come to a point where I'm happy this happened. By no means. Accepting it is still a difficult thing.
That type of honesty leads Dr. Miller to do what many people understandably can't, to face a new, different, and in many ways difficult life straight up.
I didn't see any of the anger or depression or reaction that people have when they have these devastating illnesses.
I was GNPO, nothing surgical here.
In Brian's case, that means using your new life to become, in some ways, a better doctor.
So there's a lot of pain with this. I always thought paralyzed was you can't feel anything. There's a lot of pain.
Chronic pain, similar in some ways to what many of his patients experience, patients such as Delshawn Bell.
I want to be a regular 19-year-old, I can't do it.
Bell, a former high school football player, can often not even bend down without feeling very dizzy inside his head. It's a chronic condition, and it's frustrating to Delshawn that he hasn't found any medication that's proved helpful. Dr. Miller understands.
I myself had a major head injury, major neck injury. As you can see, there's something for me. There's something for you, I promise.
Life in a wheelchair changes your perspective, including on being a doctor.
I actually can sympathize, truly sympathize with a lot of patients.
And how does that make you a better doctor?
Patients looking at me instantly realize, okay, this guy knows suffering, this guy knows pain.
Brian's greatest asset is the fact that he's a warm, caring, intelligent doctor.
His colleagues, mentors say Brian Miller was always a compassionate doctor.
He may feel that he's more kind and empathetic, but he's always been very kind and empathetic.
Still, he sees a change.
I don't see people as just the disease, the patient in room, so-and-so with heart failure, whatever. That's a person. Heart failure is bad. This patient has suffered a lot.
And the concept of using his own suffering is linked to his faith.
The God that I serve has a plan for me, and there's a purpose here. So purpose in suffering has been incredibly encouraging for me.
Brian Miller attends Pastor Joe Abraham's Scranton Road Bible Church near Metro. His faith, his prayers, help sustain him.
I pray daily.
What do you pray for?
I've learned in the past year to ask for less, if you will. And I do pray for healing, but I've asked for less.
His journey has also made him an inspiration to those he works with and to many he cares for. Deborah Fairbanks came to Metro with an irregular heartbeat.
I'm very comfortable with him.
Dr. Miller treated her and gave her instructions to follow when she goes home. Her thoughts?
If he can deal with his situation, I know I can deal with mine.
Dealing, coping, is tough. Life is not better than it was for Brian Miller. It's different, in many ways harder. And yet he still wants to help heal people, even if his own injuries never heal. What type of man does that? A man of strength, who has faith, finds hope, and is certainly loved. A man who believes in doing his life's work, he is doing God's work.
But there's a purpose here. There's a very specific thing that God is doing, and I don't know what that is yet, but I hope being an encouragement to people is part of that.
He will encourage many as he helps to heal them here inside the Metro ER. It's what he does. It's where he belongs. Bill Schill, Fox 8 News.